Welcome back to the newsroom. 1 week ago this Monday, soldiers in the West African nation of Guinea went on a brutal rampage. As some 50,000 opposition supporters gathered to protest a possible candidacy by military leader Moussa Dadis Camara in upcoming elections, troops shot, stabbed, raped and assaulted dozens of men and women in Conakry's packed stadium. Now, even with Guinea's long history of government brutality, killings and torture, the violence came as a shock. More than 150 people were killed, 1,250 injured, and witnesses to the massacre say women were raped in public by soldiers and sexually assaulted with their guns. Now, a week on, some of these rape victims have started to speak out about their terrible ordeal. France 24's Tatiana Mosso met with several of them in Conakry. Here is her exclusive report voiced by Nicolas Jama. And we must warn you, some of the images you're about to see are very distressing.
Somewhere between anger and shame, these women say they were raped by troops during the last opposition demonstration. They have agreed to share their ordeal. It's the story of two activists who found themselves in the stadium at the time the violent backlash happened.
There was someone who came and put their hand on, I don't know how to say that, my genitals. Then they raped me. They raped me. I went off the stadium naked, just naked.
I
saw the soldiers put their guns on the women, into their private parts. I saw everything when they were in the middle of hitting me. They were naked.
Did they do that to lots of women?
Lots and lots. They did it to all the women who were there.
The events of the 28th of September have become synonymous with the barbarity inflicted on these women. When the military started firing on the demonstrators in the stadium, the women were unable to escape. As panic spread over the crowd, they found themselves trapped, the soldiers prisoners.
I saw 5 girls. 5 soldiers were raping them. I went back behind the gates. I found another soldier there. He took his gun like this and he forced it into the vagina of a girl.
The health minister said that no hospitals had treated anyone complaining of rape. The minister does not believe that women were violated during the crackdown. But his opinion is not shared by this emergency doctor, who has asked to remain anonymous.
They're afraid to come, and even we're not very comfortable talking about these rapes because we worry about the consequences of speaking out. Gang rape, rape in broad daylight on a pitch. Really, it's unusual in Guinea. It's unusual in Guinea and it's worrying.
Doctors are concerned that some of the soldiers may have been HIV positive, and so they have gone to local radio stations to encourage victims to come forward and receive treatment.
Well, here to discuss the situation in Guinea with us tonight is Douglas Yates, Professor of Political Science at the American University here in Paris, who was in Conakry just very recently. Good evening, Douglas. And on the line from Dakar, Senegal with us, Corinne Dufka, Senior West Africa Director at Human Rights Watch. Thank you so much for being with us, Ms. Dufka. Let me start with you. First off, how much truth and substance is there to these allegations of rape in Guinea?
Well, I think there is a great deal. I spoke with numerous eyewitnesses to different types of sexual violation, and of course the women have been coming forward and speaking. I spoke to someone who had gone into a community just the other day, and there was a woman who was cut up, clearly suffering a great deal, and she was afraid to go to some of the hospitals. So I don't think we can put a lot of credence into what the health ministry has said. I think that there is evidence that there could be some type of a cover-up, clearly to try to diminish the very horrific abuses that happened 1 week ago.
All right. Douglas Yates, gang rape is unusual in Guinea, in Guinean culture. And there have been rumors that among the soldiers who participated in the massacre last week, there were some Sierra Leonean or even Liberian soldiers. How much truth do you think there is in that?
Of course, I don't have any evidence of any of the truth, but it is striking the similarity of this kind of violence, macabre violence. The soldiers in Guinea were known for not being terribly professional. I had already been hearing reports of rape in the outskirts. but this is not really part of the military regime. This appears to be a degradation of military rule, even Praetorian rule, into that kind of chaotic violence, that anarchic violence that we saw of armed people in the civil wars in Liberia and Sierra Leone. I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, cross-border transfers are quite common.
Corinne Dufka, Guinea's military ruler, Captain Moussa Dadis Camara, has brushed off any responsibility in last Monday's violence, but the most brutal soldiers were identified as belonging to the elite red beret-wearing Presidential Guard. Is there any indication today as to whether they'll be pursued for the violence last week?
Well, yes, and I think it's important to look at the fact that there appeared to be at least 3 ministries that were involved in this crackdown, or rather the security forces from 3 ministries: the Defense Ministry, the Presidential Security Ministry, and then the Interior Ministry. It appeared to have been a coordinated attack. I think it's very unlikely that Dadis Camara did not know or could not, in a very little time, figure out who were the commanding officers for that operation. Now, ECOWAS, the West African body, has proposed that there be a commission of inquiry to be led by the United Nations High Commissioner of Refugees. We and everyone else very much support that, to try to begin to address the very long-standing culture of impunity in Guinea that allows these kinds of things to happen.
And there are also growing calls, Corinne Dufka, for Captain Moussa Dadis Camara to face war crimes charges in front of the International Criminal Court. Do you support this as well?
Well, I think it's too early. First of all, Guinea is a signature, but of course, Guinea would have to refer itself. I think there are very, very good jurists in Guinea, and I think that perhaps the situation needs to develop a bit longer. You know, if there's a different political leadership that has the political will, I think you have the skills there in Guinea to hold accountable the individuals responsible for it. So I think it's a bit early to be talking about the ICC yet.
All right. Douglas Yates, Burkina Faso's President Blaise Compaoré has been named as mediator in this Guinean crisis. In fact, he's in Conakry today. How much can he really achieve when you have both the ruling junta and the opposition sticking to their guns? And it seems that things have gone too far this time around to achieve any mediation.
Right. The mediation would require that you'd have an identifiable opposition. What you have are a mass of different political parties that are opposed to a military leader. So you couldn't have a mediation. It would be difficult to find representatives who could represent what is largely the Guinean masses.
Do you think military intervention is something that could happen in Guinea, foreign military intervention?
This is very interesting. Now, France, the United States, and Britain have all indicated their willingness to maybe move in that direction. So the question lays with Russia and China, that is the 2 other veto-wielding members of the Security Council. Russia says it will hold off for a moment because it's negotiating an aluminum contract. China might just as well let things develop.
All right. Corinne Dufka, last question to you. Do you think there's a risk today that Guinea might become another Sierra Leone or Liberia?
Well, there's very worse. One of them is the factional fighting within the military. Of course, there's the cross-border issue, and we also have credible reports of Liberians who actually have been in the army for quite some time, participating, having arms and combats and flow across the border. So I think, indeed, the situation could very well. There needs to be the crisis of the constitutional crisis.
All right. Corinne Dufka, we have to leave it there. Unfortunately, a very bad phone line there with Dakar, Senegal. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Corinne Dufka of Human Rights Watch on the line with us from Dakar, Senegal. Douglas Yates here in the studio with me. Thank you both for talking to us about the situation in Guinea. Now, more news coming up very shortly on France 24. Do stay with us.